That's a big fish. I need you. I really need you. Come here. You are big. You are big, big, big. Just wish you guys could see this fight. That's a big, big fish. Big fish. Big, 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 big. Oh, I never get tired of hearing that. Catching big fish. Isn't that what we do this for? What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Everything Kayak Fishing Podcast, hosted right here on the Fishing with Gramps YouTube channel, presented by American Legacy Fishing, Fish Texas Kayak Trailers, Moving Water Outfitters, and of course, I'll say it again, American Legacy Fishing. Tonight, got a guy that I've been following him for quite some time. Kind of got to know a lot of the Old Town pros when I was on the Old Town Pro staff for a year as an influencer. But you know me, I like to play with all the kayaks, even though my first love is always Old Town. I'm playing with different brands of things these days too. But again, had the opportunity to meet a lot of great people. And if there's one thing Old Town really does, is they don't just get the best anglers, they get the best people. And you can't always say that about everybody all the time because there's different personalities and different types of people. But I'll tell you what, I got to talking to this guy here and there at various events and was never one of these that kind of like hides his techniques or what he's doing. Very forthcoming, very humble dude. But those are the guys you like because they catch fish. They're good at what they do, and they're just great people to be around and talk to. And of course, I'm talking to our current 2025. I know you love intros like that, don't you? Talking to our 2025, add a new big blue trophy to the case. Kayak Bassmaster Kayak Series champion, Mr. Wyatt Hammond. Brother, welcome to the show.
What's going on, everybody? I'm glad to be here. Glad we finally got it worked out. I know we had some scheduling fun there for a minute.
Yeah, we talked, right after you won, and you were like, "Hey, give me a week because we're going down to Guntersville Team Kayak Series, and of course, every time you go to Guntersville, you can just always have a chance of catching more big fish, but." You guys were down there on a lake that you're pretty good at, but that was really a cool weekend. Not that we're setting Bassmaster aside for a second, but I mean, that the whole weekend that you guys were at Guntersville, Red Crest is going on down there. So it's not just you guys, it's a bunch of bass pros. And I saw today that was the most watched Red Crest or even Major League Fishing event ever. Man. And that whole several days was absolutely just filled with drama and craziness. Yeah. I'm a big Dustin Cannell fan. And day one, I'm like, man, has he been exposed? There's no forward facing going on. He can't catch him without forward face. No, he was just doing something else until he figured out what he wanted to do. Yeah. But I mean, that whole event was absolutely insane. But we're here on the Everything Kayak Fishing Podcast, talk kayak fishing. So for those who may not have met you or know who you are, not a lot of us do, but there's tell us who you are, kind of how you got started into fishing and into kayak fishing, and kind of tell us your story of how you got to where you are today.
There's a lot to it. So my name is Wyatt. I've been kayak fishing for a long time. So I've got some stuff on the YouTube channel under Wham Fishing, and like. Also, I'll say my kayak fishing experience started in saltwater. Okay. Like I want to say a couple days ago, I had my 10 years looking back on Facebook. I had my first little Pelican kayak popped up on there. The little $199 Dick's Sporting Goods special kayak popped up on there. I was like, about 10 years ago, I was grabbing this thing to go chase flounder back in the creeks. I had a bass boat at the time, but I can't throw a bass boat in saltwater. So I ran and I just got a small little kayak so I could go fish some backwater creeks whenever I lived in Myrtle Beach. And it just kind of like kept on going from there. I moved from the 10-foot kayak to the 12-foot kayak, the little $500 one. And then I was eyeballing, the $800 one, and just kind of traded up and moved on up. And then I'll say by the end of it, I want to say whenever I got into like the kayak fishing with our local trails and CCKF, I was in a 14-foot Wilderness Systems. What was it? The Attack 140. Kind of work my way all the way up to like the big fishing kayak, and that was so. Once I got my hand on that, it was wide open. Say the motor on the bass boat blew up. I ended up selling that, and I was like, I don't even need the bass boat. I can fish everywhere I need to out of these kayaks. So say eventually I got out of the Wilderness Systems, got into the big water, the big water EPDL from Old Town, or the big water 132 PDL from Old Town, the original one. And I still fish saltwater with it. I fish plenty of freshwater with it. I won my first tournament out of that thing, and I've still got it sitting down in the garage. I still break it out. I actually thought about breaking it out this coming week to go chase some bonita down on the coast.
Oh, wow.
So, but yeah, I started kayak fishing with our local guys, CCKF and Mitch and guys around here about 3 or 4 years ago, just kind of fishing the monthlies, because I'm like, I don't want to jump in these, big tournaments, 50, 60 kayaks with these guys. They're gonna mop the floor with me. So I started fishing the monthlies because I was like, I got plenty of time. I can fish for an entire month and go out there. And especially since I work retail, so I can't have every Saturday off as much as I'd love to. So I got to pick and choose. But it kind of went on from there. And so I just dipped my toes in KBF a couple of years ago. I went to Murray and came in I think 20th, my first time out there at Lake Murray.
Wow.
And it just kind of went on from that. Like that first year, just kind of sparked a fire in it. And I was like, I need to get out and do this across the country. Like I need to go, just being able to travel and say the community of kayak fishing is substantial, like worlds better than the boating community. The boating 100%. Community to me seems so secretive, and everyone's got their own little cliques and everything. But you walk up to a group of guys at a kayak tournament, and everybody wants to talk to each other. Everybody's nice, everybody's friendly. It's so nice to just meet everybody out there. The community is amazing. So.
That's one thing I absolutely love about the kayak community, because my brother and I fished Redman way back, and I mean, I still have a boat. The poor thing sits up on the hill, and it just never, I say I keep it for taking the kids and the grandkids out, catching bluegill, crappie, and stuff like that too, which I may do once or twice a year. But the poor thing just sits up there, and the old Fish Texas kayak trailer gets you pulled around and hooked up a whole lot more. But I mean, you're right, and there's not a lot of places where just anybody can go out and fish a monthly every year. I mean, and I don't always fish the month longs because I don't always have time. Mayhem is like my favorite thing ever. Every year, my birthday's May 5th, so Cinco de Mayo, my wife lets me have every May to just every day after work, Saturday, so whatever I want to do in May, that's my mayhem. And I truly do that. And there's years that, it's the top 50%. And I'm in a state full of Mike Elsie's and Brian Sparks and Glenn Landstroms, Matt Kiefer, Merlin Hammer. The work we have to do as regular Joes to just be in the top 50% with these guys. It's not even easy to qualify for the KBFNC with all these hammers running around here. Because I know if I just go fish, the month long, I just go ahead and take my cash, But being able to have the ability to have a mayhem for just regular Joes who still work, and like me, I waste all my time making YouTube videos and having fun doing that, just trying to bring more people in to do what we're doing. But having the ability to go out and just do stuff like that against those kind of guys, and just being, if I come in 12th, because there's been times I just squeaked in, but to be able to go to the KBFNC, I remember the very first one. It's like, oh my God, there's Bassmaster. Oh my God, there's Chad Hoover, Christine, Matt Ball. I mean, I met Matt Ball for the first time at the Christian Fellowship before everything kind of kicked off. And there's Christine Fisher, there's Guillermo Gonzalez, all these people that we watch on YouTube. And, it's really cool. And that was the year that Russ won, going way up some creek in Kentucky Lake. And then just the fact that after the event, he sits there and talks to us like we're, we scratched. I barely scratched my way in and got my first 100 board. You would have thought I won the Super Bowl after that, I was 101 until one guy got DQ'd. But the fact that you could just be able to go up and have conversations and talk to people. Talking to Russ, you know, that was the year that Jeff Little followed him around, and you know, they did all the stuff up the creeks. And then just to be able to, like, I was able to talk to that guy, have a real conversation with him. He didn't know me from Adam.
Yeah.
But every year that I see him now, hey, JT, you know, just they all call me Gramps. You know how it is. But I mean, just the fact that we as regular Joes have the ability to go, you can't always just do that, like in boat tournaments and go talk to the, you know, you may be at the show or whatever, but they're not going to go share. It's like I talked to you before, you know, you guys got up on stage and I was like, how do we do? You know, just being able to have conversations like that too. But it's always fun to be able to just, like you said, I mean, Kayak Chat, Marty Hughes. I mean, these guys, I call my friends now because I see them often. I'm never going to be around a stage with them, but I'll be there taking pictures and shooting videos because I love like you said, this community. It's so awesome.
Yeah.
So tell us about how you kind of first, you know, Murray, you got 20th. I mean, that'd be just, I'd be retired. That's all I need. You know, how did you know that you were kind of ready to travel and compete? And then tell us like your first big wins and kind of how you really got where you was like, I can do this.
Like my very first win was on Sharon Harris, just with the local trail, and that's where I started out fishing the monthlies and everything. And it's about an hour and a half away from here. It's probably the closest big water that we have. Okay. And you know, I'm like, there's going to be 50, 60 boats in this. Like, I'm going to go out there and practice. Like, this is my home lake. I can't look bad. I can't look bad out there on my home lake. So I was out there practicing and, you know, fishing the monthlies out there. So that was all my, just, you know, every day that I had off, I'm out there. And then come to that first tournament, I came in first with like 101 and a quarter out there. And it's just, and just like super rewarding.
And I don't think I've ever had 100-inch month. So I mean, it's like, but I mean, I know you guys live farther south. It's in the realm of possibility. So I mean, I get it.
But like just having all that work that you know, the months of work put in, that, you know, like if I sit here and I put the work in, I do all the research and I make sure everything is, you know, set up to the best that I possibly can, make sure my electronics are dialed in. I'm like, I think I can do this. So I started doing I'll say the KBF and stuff like that. And so the first one was 20th, and it, you know, 20th was not okay with me.
Okay.
like it kind of set the fire. Like I need to do better. Like I need to do better. And I need to work it. I need to study. I'm sitting here watching YouTube videos right now on Dale Hollow we got coming up. I'm watching videos on every tournament that I have coming up for the next year. Like I'm watching videos months out in advance and preparing for everything. Like it burns me up to come in 20th out there. So it's kind of that fire in there.
Now let me ask you this, because I know, you know, most of us, wherever you live, you've got like your smaller ponds, your strip pits, your places like big bass hunts and all that too. But do you find it, like you said, you got a bigger lake, and even if it's an hour and a half away, do you find, because I've thought about the fact that I really need to do this if I ever want to go out and really compete, because all the waters we fish, except for like the river systems, but all the waters we fish are mostly on those bigger lakes. Do you find it's smart to go out and get good on that big water and try to understand those patterns? Does that translate to different lakes that you travel to? Or even if you just have smaller ponds and places to fish, just being out on the water catching fish?
Yeah, just being out of the water, period. Yeah. Because I mean, all through college and high school and everything, I'm just walking the banks and fishing the banks, and even fishing all these little farm ponds. Like you can, you know, you kind of get the mentality of like, hey, there's a little point on the bank. There should be a fish sitting around it. There's a little culvert. There should be a fish around it. Or, you know, you learn, it teaches you how to fish lay downs and teaches you how to fish, you know, just every little thing. And I think like kind of having those smaller ponds and having those smaller bodies of water, it gives you the freedom to sit there and learn and fine tune lures, especially where I know I got really, really, really good with a rattle trap because I had a handful of ponds in Myrtle Beach where I fished a rattle trap all winter, and I was catching 7-8 pounders out there on a rattle trap. And I can feel if there's a single blade of grass on there, because say, and one, the fish will bite it. So it gives you really a lot of confidence with pretty much any lure that you're fishing. If you can go out there and just get really good at it, and then you can translate that to, you go to big water and like, hey, I need to be throwing a rattle trap out on Gunnersville in the spring. Well, good thing is I've been throwing at these ponds for years, and I know how it runs. I know how this bait runs, things like that. So you can kind of just scale all of that up, all that confidence up.
Yeah, I got you. Okay. So do you find yourself when you're studying lakes and, like watching YouTube videos and whatnot too, I think I've asked you twice, and in both of these times were around the spawn, 2 different places. I think it was probably 2 different victories. And, I was like, so what were you doing? And the answer you gave me both times, I think, because it was around the spawn, was about the same thing. And I'm not going to say anything, but I was sitting there like, math. He did this. He's doing this. He's not. You weren't fishing the spawn like we think a lot of normal people would. You were doing something a little bit different, and I understand, I think, why. But do you find yourself, and then I don't know, every time you go somewhere, the water is going to be a little bit different. There's different stages, pre-spawn, post-spawn, in the spawn, in the summer, whatever. Yeah. But do you find yourself looking for kind of like the same structure type fishing wherever you go fish, so that you're kind of, I'm not going to say doing the same thing all the time, but doing similar things often? I'm not trying to be clever for people listening. I think I picked up on what you were telling me. I'm like,
like it's, in a comfort zone.
Yes.
So like I really enjoy fishing docks. I really enjoy fishing that hard cover laydowns and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I'll go out there and, after doing it for so long, like you fish in Lake Norman, for example, there's spotted bass and docks everywhere. So you're fishing docks all day long. I take that and I translate it. Like whenever I went to Gunnersville this past weekend, and I was fishing a pocket with a bunch of docks in it. I fished like 3 or 4 docks, didn't get a bite. And I was like, they're obviously not on docks in this area.
Yeah.
And instead of sitting there and going down for hours and hours and hours of just fishing every single one, kind of fishing 2 or 3 after everything that I've done kind of clues you in. So we got the question.
Yeah, and that's what he was saying. Any advice for fishing docks? Because obviously somebody's watching your channel. And it's like, oh, he likes docks, And I've been to Gunnersville a handful of times now, and I find myself doing similar kind of things. I'm kind of I could literally pick up a bait caster and a spinning rod, and everybody knows I'm going to throw chatterbait all day long. And if that don't work, I'm probably going to find some shade and start skipping Senkos up under docks. That's because I always get bit on one of the two. And that's just like my thing. But I know some people are the same way with throwing jigs, creature baits. My brothers, if anybody in this chat would, ask me, hey, what's Jeremy fishing? 10-inch power worm. That's what he's known for. But I think a lot of people, like you said, and with you even talking about the rattle trap, and I know Guillermo's the same way with traps, it's just kind of find that comfort zone and then go with how you do there.
Yep. And then like knowing when to put it down, because I'll say anything, like if you go out there, you say you like throwing a chatterbait, I'm still working on it. But if you go out there and you throw a chatterbait down like the best looking stretch that you can find on the lake, and if you don't get bit on there, I like to say, at least in my mind, it would go, if I go another 10 miles, it's not going to, maybe I'll turn a corner and there'll be a group of fish there, but the odds are I need to start looking at something else where, you go out there and you go down that best stretch for 30 minutes with a chatterbait and with nothing. Then in your mind, you're like, all right, this isn't working. Maybe I need to go on to step 2 or start looking at other things. I'll do the same thing with docks or do the same thing with whatever I'm fishing. I'll hit what I'm super comfortable with the lures and everything that I'm really comfortable with. And if that's not working, then that's when we jump in to start going, all right, what are the seasonal patterns and things like that on this lake kind of lead me towards what else should I be looking at? What's the next step that I should be looking at down there?
Yeah, because it always, one of the things that really fascinate me, especially when you guys are fishing multiple day tournaments, is, you can't lose a turn. Well, you can't win a tournament on day one, but you can lose a tournament. So it's like, at what point in time do you ever find yourself, I need to get up and just get to a different boat ramp 50 miles away or wherever, just because? I mean, because I know people that, it's just like whatever was going on here ain't going on here now.
Yeah.
I've got to get in, load up, and move. Do you do that very much, or do you just keep moving around in the boat until you kind of find something that you're looking for?
Yeah, I don't like to just load up and drive away, because that's 30 minutes, an hour of time that I'm losing. I like during my practice or during anything, I want to try and identify at least 2 or 3 things that will work, 2 or 3 sections of the lake or areas of the place that I'm fishing that should work. I'll have plan A, plan B, and then if we get down there, plan C. Hopefully we don't ever get down to plan C, but I'll have all of that stuff ready, because generally, by the time I've put in 3 or 4 days of practice, I would like to have it nailed down to at least I'm throwing 1 or 2 rods by tournament day.
I got you. Okay. Now, do you find yourself you're being part of Johnson Outdoors, Humminbird, as part of the Old Town thing? Do you find yourself using the the imaging capabilities as much as maybe some do? I know a lot of people, especially like older school guys, we fish a lot of contour lines, and we look at various stuff on side and all that too. But have you played with much of the forward looking stuff yet, or what's your kind of?
I'm working on forward. I feel like I've started to get a handle on it earlier this year. I am a huge side scan guy. Love side scan. I don't even know when it came out, 2000 something or early 2000.
Yeah, about that 2004 or something.
Yep. My dad's bass boat, he went out and paid like $2,000 for a Humminbird 597. I mean, the screen is the size of this phone right here. It had a 5-inch screen, but it had side scan. And we're sitting there with, screens this big looking at side scan.
I got a Helix 5 with side scan on my boat. That's as big as I've got, 12-inch, 10-inch graphs on my kayaks. But you go to my boat and I got a little 5-inch Helix.
And just like I lived and died by that thing, from the 597 to the Humminbird, it was a 997. Then I had a 998, and then I eventually got my hands on a 999. Every 2 years they upgrade it and things like that. And then finally on my boat I got a Helix 9, which was craziness. It was huge.
Oh yeah.
And whenever I sold it, I took all the electronics off and put it on my kayak, and ended up 9-inch screen on my kayak, and it just kind of kept on going. So now I've got a Solix on the kayak now, just because I want the absolute best imaging that I can get on the side scan, because I'm sitting there just staring at side scan, because the beautiful thing with kayaks is we're moving the perfect speed for side scan. So literally, as I'm just going from spot to spot, I'm just sitting there staring at it the whole time.
I mean, because with the autopilot, you're moving about 3 miles an hour. You set the graph up perfectly and see everything as you're going by, and it's like, oh, there's something I need to go look at.
And so I'm watching the bass boats drive by like 70, 80 miles an hour, and I'm like, they're driving over every brush pile, rock pile, school of fish. Like, they're not seeing any of this stuff.
I don't think a lot of people, it always kills me, like bass guys. It seems like they're always in a hurry to get somewhere else. Whereas we are way more thorough, especially
you gotta be.
For finding those brush piles and just the little laydowns, the little contour changes, ledge fishing, it's so funny. They just don't realize, just how much they miss because they're flying around all the time. We really do a good job of finding things and then picking them apart. That's for sure.
See we got the question in the chat, can't see a fish on side scan. And like my thing with that is, so if you've got it set at 100 feet, you've got your screen set at 100 feet, you're seeing 200 feet of water on your side scan, and you're looking for a fish that's, hopefully this long, but I mean, most of them are, 12 to 14 inches long or 18 inches long. So you're looking for a pixel on a screen. So if you want to really see fish on side scan, bring it into, 80 foot or so. And then you got to realize you're looking for, not specks, but you're looking for, I call them little grains of rice.
That's what I would say, grain of rice. Yep. And a lot of people don't realize too. I mean, it's like, and I won't always be looking for fish necessarily, but
But
especially, I mean,
brush
you can see
piles
lay
and
downs, brush
ledges
piles,
and oh yeah.
and
Yep.
then that if you come across one of those, even if you roll over it with your down imaging,
Yep.
that you could still pick up a lot,
Oh yeah.
and it's still pretty amazing. But even with forward facing these days, I don't use it as much to see fish and do the whole Jacob Wheeler, Dustin Cannell, fishing the exact, fish. But you can see the brush piles. You can see that
Yeah.
there's things in there moving. And then
Yeah.
it's like, that could be crappie, that could be carp, that could be bass. And so start casting, and then you
Yeah.
start dragging a shaky head through it and feeling it and getting bit, then you're getting a little better, it's
Yeah.
just one of those things. But
I remember on the boat, I had side scan on the trolling motor, and I would try and fish brush piles, and I'd pull up to the brush pile and turn the side scan 90 degrees and sit there and sweep it back and forth and try and line up. Now with live, I can just point it at it and just
yeah. So tell us about your did you work your way up? You said you had the salty first. Did you go from that to like the autopilot, or did you go to any of the sportsman line first?
No, so I went from big water to autopilot because I got the big water because I wanted to saltwater fish. So like I've caught kings out of it. I've caught tuna out of it. I've taken it down to Florida and caught yellowfin, like blackfin tuna. Caught some little 8 and 9 pound blackfin tuna out of it. Like I wanted something I could do both with, and like the sportsmans are awesome. The 120 sportsmans are awesome, but for handling like chop and being able to go, I've had it 8 miles offshore before. Get way out there and chase down schools of bonita and chase down schoolies and stuff like that. I wanted something that was fast and I could run around with. And also, I still break it out for Gunnersville in the fall because it's so pointed and narrow that I can push pole over the tops of grass mats that I like to fish.
Yeah.
Whereas the top waters are a little bit more oval in the front. They don't ski over everything as well.
Gotcha.
Yep. Every time I'm down there in the fall, I take the pedal drive out. I put the little console in. I know last year I left the graphs off. I was out there with no graphs, paddling everything across the top.
On top of, I got you. Okay.
Yep.
That's pretty wild. I mean, and I tell you what, that autopilot when I first got into mine, because I started like you were talking about, I started with like the old Walmart, and then I got like a Sun Dolphin or Future Beach, what it was, like a Future Beach.
Sit in it.
Oh yeah, and then I discovered the top water next, and that was my first like fishing paddle kayak, and then of course the PDL 106. I was in that thing forever, and then when I got with Old Town, I had just picked up my first autopilot, and man, game changer. I called it the Cadillac because that's what that thing is. I mean, and to be honest, still to this day, still the best single motorized kayak I've been in, because a lot of people don't realize even if you put a bow mount on the front and a rudder on the back, it's not the same.
Yeah,
that center console.
Mine was fishing docks. I can't skip with something dead center, but the autopilot motor head is low enough where I can skip over it. And I think
that center mounted motor and then the bigger rudder on the back, perfect for wind control. That's one thing, guys. I'm playing in another one right now, but the wind will still blow me around because the rudders are this big instead of this big. The autopilot rudder is absolutely perfect. And there's a lot of times where I would, and this is one of the things I miss, just putting it on, line it up straight, put it on. I'm working a bank, and then a lot of people realize with the foot controls, that absolutely completely controls the back end of that kayak. You can steer it anywhere. Doesn't matter how much the wind's blowing; it keeps it dead locked straight.
I flip the foot pedals upside down so that they're angled up, so I can stand up and I just kind of bump it with my shins. I'll put it on like 1.5, and I'll bump it with my shins and kind of just run it like that so I can.
There's your trick. There's your tips right there, people. Turn your foot pegs upside down so you can stand up and fish and kind of control it with the tops of your shoelaces.
Yep.
There you go. That's slick. I like that a lot. That's clever. But that thing is so precise in its steering. It's absolutely fantastic. I wonder if in the future they're gonna kind of do with the autopilot what they just did with the 120 Pro. That would be kind of slick.
Yeah, I the hatch on that 120 Pro is That's the biggest thing I miss going from the 132, the big water, to the autopilot, is I want that giant hatch in the front, because I stuff rods, I put all kinds of stuff in there.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't realize you can fit a lot of stuff inside a kayak when you're traveling, and it makes it nice too.
Yeah.
So tell us kind of, as you started getting into tournament fishing, tell us about some of your early victories, and then kind of, you kind of know when you're like, and I know guys at your level don't talk about the guys at your level, but you have to realize at some point in time, hey, I'm able to compete with this top tier level, and not just compete with, but I mean, sometimes you put the smack down on them. How did tell us kind of how you went from, being, tournament angler, national, and then you kind of went to that kind of top tier. How was that? Had to be something.
Like Chickamauga Chickamauga 2020. Yeah, was it last year? No. Year before, Chickamauga the year before for KBF. And like we fished the first day. I had like 93 something inches, and Jackson Orr won it. Like the kid, I mean, you see Jackson Orr up there in the leaderboard, and you're like, all right, I'm fishing for second now.
Yeah.
And then the second day, it was Chickamauga on Saturday. The first day there was tournaments and craziness and everything, but on the second day there was nobody out there, and I could move around free, and I ended up catching like 98 and 3/4 inches or something like that, and ended up winning it. And I was like, this is wild. Like I did it. I did it. I got the KBF trophy. It's one of the ones right there. Like I got the KBF trophy, and it's like, I think I can handle this. And I gave her some grief for it. I gave her some grief for it a couple weeks ago. Christine, whenever she wrote an article for with Hank, and in the article she was talking about Jackson Orr and the guys coming up in kayak fishing, and she said, I don't know who the other guy is. And I was like, I took that personally. I was like, hold on, like we're gonna change this.
Yep, you're gonna learn my name. That's really, I mean, but it's so cool, because it's like when you see a lot of the names, and then it's like you start seeing the name, and then you see him again, and then you see him again. It's like, man, dude's coming and just smashing, and it's over and over again. So is there a derb now out there that you haven't won? It's still like, what's left to do now?
I don't have a Bass regular blue trophy, and Hobie is gone.
Yeah.
So I'll say Angler of the Year for Bass is still like the penultimate thing. I've said, like, you can get lucky and win a tournament. I'll say I can get lucky and win a tournament, but Angler of the Year is, that's the penultimate out of everything. You ask the Bass and the elite pros, like, would you rather win a regular season tournament or win Angler of the Year? Angler of the Year is still way up there.
And it amazes me. I mean, it seems like we see the same couple of guys, but
Russ.
Yeah, Russ and Drew. What's up, boys? So, what was it? I mean, honestly, it's Bassmaster. We got to get to Bassmaster. Man, had you been to Fork very much before? I mean, I know some people, spend a lot of time in practice there, but tell us a little bit about the experience down there, and just really what that was like.
So that was my second time in Texas. I went to Caddo for Caddo for KBT in the fall. So we had KBT had our championship down there, and had a blast down there. First off, food in Texas, unreal, amazing. They're not it's like, I guess it's illegal to make bad food in Texas. Everything's amazing. So I automatically loved it. For the KBT, we crushed them on Caddo. Like, I had an awesome time out there. So it kind of just set the bar for Texas. Is just big fish, awesome food, great time. And coming back this year, I was worried about the wind, because the wind is it's been brutal this year. Wind has been insane this year. and my practice was not phenomenal. It was not great. Like I caught a 22.5 like the first day I went out there, and then a couple smaller fish like 15 inchers. And then a couple days later, I caught like a 23 incher, a jig on a dock. And I was like, I don't have too much going into this tournament, but like I've caught a big fish in a pre-spawn area, and then I caught that 23 on a dock, which is also a pre-spawn area. So I'm like, I probably need to stick with kind of those staging areas, because I told my buddy, I was like, I see all these bedfish, I see all these, obviously guys were crushing them up. I'm watching Garrett right now catch 22 inches off.
Did you see that fish he lost?
Yes.
Oh my god! I almost sent him my condolences card on that one. That thing was huge.
Yes, that was insane. That was a 10, 12 pounder all day.
Man.
But I told my buddy, I was like, everyone's gonna see these bedfish and just immediately that's it. That's all they're gonna do. They're not gonna look offshore. They're not gonna worry about anything deeper than 3 foot. So I was like, I'm gonna look in that 3 to 5 to 7 foot range. I'm gonna look at docks. I'm gonna look at that kind of stuff. And it, like I said, it wasn't great. It wasn't great for me in practice.
Yep.
But that's where I had caught my bigger fish. I'd caught some like 17, 18s off beds. I'd seen some good fish up shallow on beds, but I couldn't get them to lock on. I couldn't get them to lock on well enough for me to catch them. So I was like, I'm not going to gamble the tournament on, 18 inchers and 20 inchers that swim away the second they see me. I was like, I'm going to go fish the staging areas, especially when, we had all the wind that came through. And then the day of the tournament, there's a little bit of a cold snap. It wasn't cold, but it was cold enough that I think the fish would recognize it. And it's like, I think it would back them off just a little bit. So I started off kind of fishing ditches in the back of the little pockets with a chatterbait. I caught some decent fish earlier in the week doing that, like 18s and stuff doing that. And so I fished one pocket, and I started to leave it and go to another pocket, and there was a boat sitting back there. And I look in the next one over, and I'm like, there's a kayak back there. I'm like, there's a kayak over there. There's a kayak over there. I was like, well, this is kind of awkward. I pulled out to the little, this pre-spawn, it's a pond dam in the dead center of it, because it was a little creek arm that had 6 or 7 little fingers, but right in the middle was a pond dam. And I was like, that's where I caught my 22 the first day of practice. I was like, well, I'm gonna go, park on this and make a couple casts and kind of figure out what in the world I'm going to do with my life here, or take a ticket and get behind somebody else, or pull a ticket and get in line behind somebody else and go down. And it was literally my first cast on that pond dam. I made the cast, hit spot lock, picked up the line, and my rod just does that and pulls off. It's like, okay. Next cast. It's like,
oh no, I hope my internet's not acting up again.
Still there?
I hope it's not my internet again. I'm here.
Yep, still there. We're back.
Yeah.
So I sat there and I caught or I lost a fish every 3 casts for like the next 20, 30 minutes until the sun came up and got on that spot. Like I lost a 23. I lost a giant. And I lost like a 20, 21. But I lost a couple good fish off of that too. And that just kind of like, it put me in a better state of mind. It put me in a better mental spot, which is like looking back. I was talking with one of my friends earlier today. Like she kind of keeps me in her on track whenever I'm out fishing. But like catching a couple fish, the like 21s early in the day kind of mentally put me in a big spot, because whenever I lost that 23, I was like he could spin out on that, or I sat down and I was like, I lost a 23 here. There's got to be more. Like there's got to be more of them down there. If I just lost one, and I was watching Garrett, he loses that fish. He sits down. He's like, it's fine. He's like, there's more of them there. And then a minute later, he's joking and laughing with somebody, like, just, not spinning out, not losing, your mental focus out there was a huge part of it. So like after I left that first spot, the pond dam, I went and I was like, I just want to fill out my limit right quick. I pull into a little pocket, and I see this Hobie coming in with all these wraps on it. And I'm like, who in the world is this guy? Big Bass Pro logo on the side of it. And I was like, he starts talking to me. He's like, who are you? He's like, you're Wyatt, right? He's like, I wrote an article about you. I'm like, who are you? Marty Hughes.
Marty Hughes.
I was like, I know this guy. Oh, and still like trying to figure out who's kayaks or who's in what kayaks and things like that out there on the water, and not trying to like get too close to everybody before you figure out who it is. And we sat there talking to each other, and I'm like, there's a fish right there, there's a couple fish right there, and I caught a couple fish right there and filled out my limit, and caught like 2 8. I got 18 and a half and then 18, and I left everything else. I was like, I've got 5 fish, I've got close to 100 inches, like I got to go big fish hunt now. Like, we got like, don't worry about any more fish on beds. I'm just going to go big fish hunt, jig on docks for the rest of the day, and Pop-Tarts. Oh, say clutch for the morning, but
there we go.
Yep. So I just kind of went big fish hunting, and that's where I use my live scope a good bit, where I scope the docks. I love scoping the docks, where I'll pull up to the dock and I'll sweep the live scope across it, and I can say there's a fish sitting on the 3rd pole back underneath there, and I skip the jig up under it, and I can watch the fish either take off or sit there and move towards the jig, and just I'll say that kind of stuff makes live so awesome. Or all the things that we use it for. But I picked through a handful of docks like that, and I caught 21 and a half. I think 21 and a half, 21 3/4 to kind of upgrade. And I was like, I've got one more 18 that I need to get rid of. And I fished a whole bunch more docks with nothing. Didn't get any more bites or anything, but I could see them under there. I'm like, I scan it, and there's 10-pounders sitting under these docks. Like, it's kind of frustrating, and it kind of keeps you going with it, where I can see 10-pounders under there, but they swim away every time I throw a jig at them. But then I pulled out my phone, and I was like looking at my phone, just scrolling across, and I'm like, there looks like I was like, this next pocket over, it looks like it's got a couple decent looking docks in it. I wanted to go over there. I wanted to go over there and just kind of check it out in practice, but I never made it over there. So I was like, we got a long day. I'm like, we got 11 hours. Might as well, take
did you like having a super long day on the fork just so you can be on the water fishing as much as possible?
Yeah.
I know some people be like, oh man, but I'm like, I'd be out here from sun up to sundown. We're on Lake Fork. You never know what could happen.
It was like, I wanted to be out there I needed all the time I could get. I wanted as much time as possible. Like, give me 13 hours if you want. Like,
yep.
So like I went into that next pocket over, and the dock I was heading to had 2 kayaks sitting in it. So I was like, all right, let me pull off to this other dock. I was just sitting there. I stopped the motor. I'm sitting there looking around. I'm like, that one over there looks okay. So I pull up to it, hit live on there, and there's a fish sitting right on the front post of it. I throw the jig up to it. I see the jig sink down, and I see just the flash. I just see the whole fish flash whenever it hits, and that was the 22 3/4 that I caught. I'm just like,
now that was on a jig that you hand tied, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, I read that Bassmaster article, and I was like, "There's a man after my own heart right there. Tie his own jigs, figure out what he likes, and then throw them around." And honestly, is there anything cooler than catching a fish on a bait that you made? No. I don't know that everybody does that, but I love that stuff.
Yeah, I'll say live in rubber. They don't make them as much anymore. I still put some silicone in there to kind of change the colors based on what time of year and things like that it is. So kind of do whatever I want with it and get the perfect lure for me.
Yep.
So that was awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So, I mean, long day.
Yeah.
They shut the leaderboards off. Of course, they got to torture us every damn time. I'm thinking that you told me that you had a last minute upgrade before you went on the stage. How did that make you feel?
That was why, because I was sitting there, and it was a spot that I found. I found it, lines out was 6:30. I think I found that spot at like 6:15.
Oh, wow.
Like I was just watching my side scan as I was going, and I saw 3 or 4 fish sitting on the end of a point, and I was like, let me stop and make a couple casts of that, because I'm not going to make it to where I was going with enough time. So I was sitting there, and like first or second cast, I lost one that was like 21 or so, and it was like, it wouldn't really help me anyway, which is a wild, insane feeling. Just like, 21 came off. It's not really going to help me. And then I caught a 20 and a half. I threw that one back, and like, that's not going to help me. And I was sitting there, and I picked up my remote, and I was looking at it, just kind of holding the rod in my hand. I picked up my remote, and it said 627. And I feel the rod just doing this. I just kind of reactively swung on it, and then it started jumping. I was like, oh God. I was like, that one could help. So I'd say I just wenched him in, threw him in the net, slammed him on the board, took a picture at 629. 629, it was 22 and a half.
Wow. And that puts you, I think, if I remember, it was like over 111.
Yeah.
Because I think when they shut it off, you were at 110 or something. And then when I saw you, you were like, got 111. I was like, what? So
nuts.
Get off the water. You got to be feeling pretty good. Of course, you never know what anybody else is doing.
Yeah.
Like
seeing second place, and he had a 17, like a small fish was a 17. I was like, if he caught a 22,
if he catches a good one, I mean, he can gain a whole lot of ground.
Yeah, he gains a whole lot. And I'm like, this is the lake where you can catch a good one. If you're going to catch a 24-incher in the last minute, there's 24 swimming everywhere out here.
How do you sleep at night when you know you're getting off the water and you don't get on the stage till the next day?
Not well. not well.
Because I think I saw you like midway through the day in the expo, and it was probably still several hours before you guys were even going out to get on stage. And I'm like, how's this man walking in the live? I'd be freaking nervous wreck, you had to be close, at least in the, you knew you were in the top 10, but I mean, tell us kind of like your experience of getting to the arena and being backstage, and just how do you, it's like, wow.
Say, Dad, getting in there, like seeing the classic stage, the blue, everything is blue, everything being blue. And, you kind of get ushered through everything. Like, God bless him, Steve is sitting there, trying, like, running everything. I'm seeing him sitting down, texting. Then he pulls out an email and starts sending an email. Then he calls somebody. Then he goes back to texting, and he's just kind of running 10,000 miles an hour, getting all of us. Like, props to him for being able. I would throw my phone through a wall if I had people to nonstop text and call me like that. But he did an awesome job. Like, we literally just go here, go here, go here, go here, and they kind of just shuffled us through, and they put us up on the stage, and like, the stage is unreal. I mean, just like I say, you watch it, you see it as a kid. You see, watched everybody walk across that stage.
It's so cool that knowing as a kayak angler that you have a chance. I mean, that is just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. So it was wild. There's words. I don't know them, but there's words for it. I don't have enough words to describe it. It was amazing.
Yeah. And it's like, you see the names that are coming ahead of you, and
Gene Jensen, Drew Gregory, Russ, like the who's who of kayak fishing.
And then and then you get handed that big blue trophy, and you get to do what very few ever get to do in their lifetime. Just hoist that big blue trophy over your head on the, what I call it. I'm like everybody else. I'm, it's Bassmaster Kayak Classic. I don't care what they call it.
Yep.
But yeah, that had to be a special moment.
Oh, it was a moment of a lifetime. Just like, I could work forever, and I could never touch that stage again. So just not knowing that I could do everything possible, and I still might never get back to that stage. It just made it that much more.
I've got a buddy of mine here in Indiana, Josh Shrenko. He's a Smalley guy. Runs a Smalley Talk podcast, but it's like I told him when he got back, I was like, bro, He went to Susquehanna, hoisted one of those trophies. I was like, you don't have to do anything ever again. You know why? Because your dad got to watch you. And just there's limited amount of people that get to do that. But hey, dude, the champ of the big one. That was so awesome. And I tell a lot of people, I like a lot of people, I watch a lot of people, I follow a lot of people, but I love people with good, genuine characters who just like to talk to people. For me, guys like you are great ambassadors for our sport because you'll sit there and talk to folks. You've been the guy who's just fishing. And you've been the guy now who's been on the biggest stage and done the biggest things, but you will always remain the same guy because that's just your character. And it's so cool knowing regular folks can go do this. But there's regular folks that are a little extra than the rest of us. But it's cool knowing that just guys and gals can go do this.
Yeah, I mean, 3 years ago at Lake Murray, that Lake Murray, like I pulled up the ramp and I was like, that's Casey Reed right there. Like, that's Casey Reed. We picked the same ramp as Casey Reed did. We're gonna do all right in this tournament.
Yeah, I went to Susquehanna once, and I'm coming off the water. Here comes Russ, and I was like, well, I must have been in the right place somewhere. But you're right. You don't. These are the guys that have fished the 10, the KBFNCs and, always in the top of the, but everybody's always got great, like I love Casey's story, number 11, you feel for the guy, but you get it because somebody's got to do it. But, it's just cool that all these guys, we get to see them, we get to fish with them, and then we get to chat with them afterwards. And, they can come tell us your stories after they win the biggest event there is. So I got to thank you a ton for coming on tonight.
Yeah, so I appreciate being here. Thanks for working with me to get the timing right.
Oh yeah, it's all good. So I mean, we put it off for the TKS, but what'd you think about that? You guys had a blast down there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Honestly, when I first looked at the leaderboard halfway through the day and saw you guys were up top, I was like, oh, here he goes again.
Justin had a better time than I did. I threw my phone in the water, so I've got a brand new temporary phone right now.
Oh no.
I had kind of a rough day at it.
Yeah.
Gunnersville was not nice to me this time. But like I said, I really like the series. Gene and Mike are putting in an insane amount of work for it. Just you see them. I mean, first off, to have to go to Gunnersville in the spring and not fish.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
go to all these tournaments and not fish and sit there and deal with us, calling them and texting them about the rules and everything all the time. But I like the setup of it because I said earlier in the year, like most of these tournaments, you're going out there and you're trying to catch your 5 best on day 1, and then you're trying to catch your 5 best on day 2.
Yeah.
But that setup, you can catch them all in one day. You can catch them all in the second day. So with there being 2 people, I was like, I only have to catch 3 today. You only have to catch 3 today. Tomorrow, you only have to catch 3. Tomorrow, I only have to catch 3. It's like, so the pressure is it takes a little bit of the pressure off. Not all of it, because you're still fishing against Jody Queen. Like you're
oh yeah,
still fishing against the best of the best guys. But it takes a little bit of the pressure off. It changes the strategy a little bit of like I can send, one of us can go over here, one of us can go over here.
Yeah.
If I'm not catching them, I can come to you, or if you're catching them, you can come to me. And then it's also, instead of having to catch 5 fish over 8 hours, I've only got to catch 1 fish every 2.5 hours. Like
yeah.
I can sit there and I can target, you can target a big fish, and it's, if you don't catch them today, it's okay. There's still fish tomorrow. So it just,
I'm looking forward to fishing weather events one of these days. I only get so much travel time, so I got to pick and choose where I'm going and all that. But
we got Susky coming up.
Yeah,
I won't make Kentucky Lake, but I'll be at Nickajack.
Okay. Oh well, yeah. Find what's close to you. Yeah, I'm like you. I do like one Bassmaster a year if there's something close by. Of course, last year I was like, well, that's in Caddo. I'm gonna go down there just it's Texas. And I ended up going down to Paris and doing the Kayak Adventure series after the thing, and then since I've got a couple of Kayak Adventure series nearby as well, one in Ohio, and then I'm going to go up to Minnesota and chase big smallies. My wife's from Minnesota, so it's an excuse. Hey, honey, you go visit family. I'm going to go over here. So, you know, I got a freebie on that one, but
Yeah.
with Bassmaster coming to Dale Hollow, that's like 4 hours south of me. Oddly enough, I've never been to Dale Hollow that I can think of.
Yeah.
So I want to go catch big smallies because that's been
Yeah.
like my kick these days. But it should be fun. So like you, I'm getting ready for that one next. And I'm just gonna go and give them my money and go try to catch a 20-inch smallie and see what happens, you know. But it's truly fun. But I'm not going to keep you any longer. I thank you again for joining us tonight.
Of course, thank you.
I think you're probably going to get some of the same storm I've been getting too. We had a tornado roll through southern Indiana again today. So I'm actually happy I've had internet this whole time because I was starting to wonder. But I'm about done with this weather. All of our lakes are just, we've got record floods going on everywhere around here. Everything is soup and mud. And I just want to go put the old XTR on the water and catch some fish. But maybe one of these days. But I'll be definitely getting ready for
Soup and mud is old school. You can throw a spinner right now.
Yes, sir. Yeah. I got a big old Colorado blade in that mud. I always like throwing the big blade chatterbaits in this stuff, too. It's like one of the two will find something around.
Oh, yeah.
All right, good sir. I'm going to let you get out of here. I will see you in a couple of weeks. And, we're going to go Dale Hollow and catch some giant fish.
Yeah, man. Looking forward to it.
All right, brother. Yeah. So tell me, you gonna get your hands on one of those 120 Pros, or are you gonna kind of stick with what you got going on for now?
Trying to decide between the regular or the EPDL. The regular and use that as my new Gunnersville boat and saltwater boat, or get the EPDL and kind of test that out. I kind of want the big water EPDL because that one will really help chase down some albies and stuff offshore.
Yeah, if I remember, you get a certain privilege when you win a big tournament, don't you? All right, sweet. Yep. All right, Wyatt, thanks again for coming on. Thank you, everybody, for jumping in, hopping in the chat, listening to us tonight. And I'll get this uploaded for the Everything Kayak Fishing podcast. But as always, get outside when you can and make some memories. One cast at a time.